23, Labour 19, and you're sitting here saying you're doing a good job.
Camilla Tominey dismantles a Labour MP live, and Starmer's failures land right on your wallet and your vote. Even Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander ducked the studio. But here's the twist, it's genuinely startling once you clock what the clip lays out. Tominey fires a roll call, farmers' tax, national insurance hike, winter fuel payment, plus a hinted U-turn on jury trials and business rates, then cites a Sun poll, Reform 31%, Labour 19%, with Starmer at -59 approval.
Listen, I understand the positive spin, and I'm grateful for your presence in the studio because the Transport Secretary wouldn't come on the show, Heidi Alexander, even though she had committed to it on Friday. She pulled out at the last minute. Goodness knows why. You're not in the Cabinet, so I'll go easier on you than I would do if you were a minister. But can we just be real here? This is the list of U-turns: farmers' tax, income tax hike at 2025 budget, two-child benefit cap, benefit reforms, winter fuel payment, gang rape inquiry, WASPy women, national insurance hike, trans women are women. Oh, no, actually, they're not. They're men. Royal Mail nationalisation. We're now talking about an apparent U-turn on jury trials. It speaks to a government that is making it up as it goes along. You have to appreciate that. I bet voters in Hales Owen do say that to you on the doorstep.
So I wouldn't accept all of those things are U-turns. And we are in a world that is a bit more volatile than it used to be. And I think everyone now accepts that the state of the public finances and the public services that the Conservatives left us was really bad. In that context, I think it's really important that we're listening and we're listening to the public, we're listening to stakeholders.
Hang on a minute. OK, can we just get real? As far as our audience is concerned, Keir Starmer has become one of the least popular prime ministers in history. Both budgets have been widely derided as a disaster. We've got polling in the Sun, which I'll come on to, that people are still feeling the cost of living squeeze, even if they're meant to be well off. You can't possibly be sitting here arguing at this stage with an approval rating of -59 that the Prime Minister's been doing a good job. You can't be saying that.
Would you prefer a government that pushed on regardless, despite the public view? Or would you like a government that is listening to stakeholders, including pubs,
it's like the definition of Churchill, lurching from one disaster to another. That's the government we have.
That's not what I'm saying. I think it's very important that we're listening to people, we're listening to stakeholders, and we're making adjustments to improve the situation. And as you said, pubs are going to be very happy with the change. I think farmers and the NFU was very happy with the change. So these are important things that we're doing.
Marginally happy with the change, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Also now, do we move on to bailing out other parts of the hospitality industry? Hotels facing 115% increases. You're helping pubs. What about restaurants? What about hotels?
Well, I haven't seen the data on that. But as I say, the Treasury is listening very well. Should she step in now and say, I made a mistake and correct that one too? For other parts of the hospitality industry? I think we have to go back and look like why we're here in the first place. We have a level of debt that's close to 100% of GDP that we inherited from the last government.
Which
any decision in any budget
literally contributing to yourself, because you've got no plan to cut government spending over the next 5 years. In fact, it's going up. So all of this, we inherited this, but actually we're doing that. It's sort of trying to mislead the public. This constant blaming of the Tories for mistakes that have happened since the last budget. The last budget was only in autumn. What's it got to do with the Tories? Rachel Reeves cocking up this business rates hike.
So I think we're in a very difficult public finance situation, and any changes that are made around that to try and plug the gap that we were left in, we're going to be unpopular.
All right.
And it's important that we're listening, and we've made a positive change here on this.
All right. Well, this isn't positive, is it? Look at these families that are featured in The Sun. A couple called Amelia and Jordan. Their household costs have gone up from 1,180 to 2,000. Another couple have seen a 60% increase in their household spending. Another couple, 70%.
So, in plain English, here's what's going on. A Labour backbencher has gone on telly to sell the government's budget line and defend Keir Starmer's record. Camilla Tominey isn't buying it. She weeds out a stack of reversals and asks a simple question: if you keep changing course, is there even a plan? Then she hits him with popularity and credibility, because politics is trust. If families feel worse off, if bills go up, and if ministers keep rowing back, people stop listening and start looking elsewhere. That matters to normal working people because it decides what you pay, what you keep, and whether the country feels competently run or like a right mess. Now, here's the trick Labour always try to pull in these moments. They frame every backtrack as listening and every fresh mistake as we inherited it. Fair enough, you can inherit problems. But you can't inherit your own decisions, can you? Watch how the conversation moves from "we're fixing things" to "we had no choice" in about 10 seconds, and then straight into ordinary household pain. Keep an ear out for the numbers and the little admissions. That's the heart of it. She's basically saying you don't get to hike things, spook business, squeeze hospitality, and then clap yourself on the back because you half undid it. Calling it listening doesn't make it wise. And when he leans on the Tories' left-a-messed line, she snaps it back to the timeline. The last budget wasn't ancient history, it was autumn. You also heard the receipts that matter to viewers at home. Household costs jumping from 1,180 to 2,000, supermarket inflation staying high, and that voting intention graphic with reform on for 31% while Labour sits on 19%. That isn't some Westminster parlour game. That's a warning light for anyone trying to budget for food, rent, energy, and a mortgage. What I find most telling is the psychological bit. He doesn't come across as confident. He comes across as careful. Everything is "we're in a volatile world and we're making adjustments." That's not leadership, that's managing decline with nicer words. And when politicians start talking like that, they usually reach for the next escape hatch, limit the public's chance to punish you. Which brings us to the part you absolutely need to hear, because it's about democracy on the ground, and then it swings into foreign policy and Trump. Focus on the excuses and then the dodge.
Pictured here with a disabled child. Overall voting intention, Reform 31%, Conservatives 23%, Labour 19%. And you're sitting here saying you're doing a good job.
Oh, the cost of living is a real problem. And I speak to people all over Halesowen and in other places that are really struggling at the moment. It's why it's one of the top 3 priorities of the government, and it's why we're doing everything we can to bear down on those costs. Things are slowly, I appreciate, moving in the right direction. Inflation has come down. Interest rates are falling.
We've had it hasn't.
Six
I mean,
interest
do you
rate
appreciate that supermarket inflation remains very high and that the cost of a shopping basket full of food is much higher now than it was when Labour took power?
Absolutely. Food prices are higher than they were before. But things are moving in the right direction.
Well,
mortgage prices are lower than they used to be before, and we've got £150 off energy bills coming in.
This is the other problem, that people who want to demonstrate their democratic right and who might not be happy with either voting for Labour or not at the national election now won't be able to vote in local elections because Labour keeps on cancelling them.
So I think, Camilla, this is the biggest non-story that we've ever had discussed on this issue.
Why is it a non-story?
So I have elections in my area, in Sandwell and Dudley. There are elections in Wales and Scotland, in London, in many, many local authorities across the country. But there's at the same time happening a local government reorganisation. So small councils, district councils, county councils are merging together. You are poised to postpone elections in 22 areas that you run. 22. It's not insignificant at all. If you let me finish, Camilla.
Well, we need to get onto Iran quickly.
We're merging councils together, and the councils will have the choice at this point whether they want to spend a lot of money on electing councillors that may be going into positions that are abolished in a number of months.
Isn't it just because you're worried you're going to be beaten by reform, unfortunately?
It's a very sensible decision. It's going to save taxpayers lots of money.
You're going to be absolutely
and it's not
decimated.
the government that is making these decisions,
It's going to be disastrous for you on May the 7th, and you're trying to avoid electoral calamity, aren't you?
I think we're going to disagree on this one.
OK. How about Iran? We've got Trump now saying that he wants to intervene and help the protesters. Presumably Keir Starmer should back him in that. We're seeing... well, we don't quite know the death toll, but it's certainly up above 100 right now. As brave Iranians take to the streets, try and overthrow the Ayatollah, we should be swinging in behind the US president, shouldn't we?
It's an awful situation in Iran.
Should we?
I think the government for a long time has been critical of the Iranian regime.
Should we swing in behind the US president and help these protesters?
I think Trump can speak for himself on what he wants to do.
What do you think the Starmer should do?
And I don't think we should be putting into the public domain what our plans are on these type of issues.
Of course we must put it into the public domain because we need to reassure very brave protesters in Iran that we've got their back.
President Trump can speak for himself. His plans,
What
I
do you
shouldn't be
think
opining
Starmer
on.
should do? It's a simple question. Should we back Trump when he says he wants to send in help to the protesters trying to overthrow an extremist Islamic regime? Should we help or not?
It's a very complicated situation, Camilla. You'll be aware other countries in the Middle East
We
that
had
have
this
had
with Darren
interventions have
Jones
not
last
gone
week.
very well.
Why can't you
We should
just
be very
express an
careful.
opinion as to whether we should help Iranian women who are being killed for taking off their hijabs? Yes or no? The US president said we should help. Should we help the US president to help these people?
So if you're asking me as a backbench MP, I would say no, we should not be getting involved in Iran at the moment. And there is good reason for that because of the disasters that happened in other countries when people have intervened in the Middle East. But that's not the government's position. And they are saying very correctly that we need to be very careful about this. And Donald Trump can speak for his own plans, and it's not for us to opine on what they are.
All right, I think we need to leave it there because I'm getting somebody wrapping me up in my ear. But thank you very much for joining me in the studio today, Alex Ballinger. Great to see you. Coming up next, I'm going to be speaking to...
Did you catch it? First, the local elections bit. The presenter says it plainly, postpone elections in 22 areas. He tries to brush it off as a non-story, then leans on council reorganisation and costs, and she pushes back that it's not insignificant. Whatever your party, delaying votes is serious. If your ideas are popular, you face the public. If you're terrified of getting thumped, you start looking for process reasons to kick the can down the road. People in this country already reckon politics is dodgy. Moves like that make it worse. Then there's Iran. You heard the question, brave protesters, deaths above 100, and Trump saying he wants to help. The Labour MP won't even give a clean yes or no on backing the United States in principle. He hides behind complicated and don't put plans in public. Look, nobody sensible wants reckless intervention. But strength starts with moral clarity. If you can't say you stand with women being murdered for defying an extremist regime, what exactly do you stand for when it's hard? That's the wider story here, a government that talks like it's always reacting, always explaining, always trying to wriggle out of the consequences. Britain doesn't need more spin. We need leaders who respect the voter, balance the books honestly, and stand firm with our allies when freedom is on the line.